بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الآب والابن الروح القدس إله الوحيد Amen. My name is Friedrich Bokern and I'm speaking to you from our small peace center in Kantara in the north of Lebanon, where we have been serving midst in the refugee camps of Syrian refugees and midst in Lebanese villages for over 13 years. We are in the end of July 2026 and our summer classes are in full swing. It is time to speak about education. Education by discovery. Now, education never stops, and we have been providing daily education for over 13 years, thanks to the many small donations of our friends from around the world. We are not mainly funded by big project grants, but by many small grassroots donations, which ensure that our classes never stop. And this is a very important feature of our work, because here in this borderland we are trying to bring very different people together, Lebanese, Syrians, from different communities, both Muslims, Sunni Muslims, Alawite Muslims, Christians, Orthodox, Maronite, Protestant, other, and people without belonging, without community, for a better future for the youth. This is the common cause we're trying to create amongst people in distress. And believe me, there is distress. Once again, we have passed a year of bombing, of war, of displacement here in Lebanon, and it doesn't seem to stop. Still, people are finding shelter, but people are in need, and especially children are in need. From day one of our work, we have started to provide education to displaced Syrian refugees, but also to Lebanese in need here in this poorest region of the country, where many families cannot afford the private tutors that are necessary for bringing the children through the Lebanese school. Now, I have talked about education in the past. This time I would like to talk about the philosophy behind the education we are trying to give. And I mentioned education by discovery. I mean, one thing is important to note from the onset, that we are speaking about education in emergencies. These children we serve, many of them are showing severe signs of multiple trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder, hyperactivity. There are many names to it, but for sure, if a child has been going through multiple displacements, if children we have served from day one have witnessed their beloved ones killed in front of their eyes, when we have orphans who have grown up in informal refugee camps, in a self-made shelter without proper insulation through very hot summers and very cold winters for more than a decade, of course, you can understand that the focus on learning is not a given. So bringing children into a classroom, into a good setting, a clean classroom, and having them focus, having them forget the problems at home is a first step. And I'm very glad that also during these summer classes we have Dr. Simon, a Lebanese experienced child psychologist, with us to accompany the children and to have one session per week at least to address the multiple trauma we are dealing with. Now, summer is a special time because the school year is over, and now our local teachers have room for experimentation. And I mentioned the philosophy of education by discovery. Of course, we are inspired by the works of John Dewey or of Maria Montessori, but it does not mean that people here in the poorest region have necessarily the means to implement these ideas of a very child-centered education in their daily lives. The Lebanese schools most of our children are enrolled in, apply a very curriculum-centered approach where you have to catch up to the very demanding standard of the Lebanese curriculum, which has not been reformed since the 1970s. And it is a very ambitious curriculum. I saw the tests for math for the baccalaureate. I couldn't possibly cope, even though I have received a very sound education in a private school in Germany. Now, this curriculum-centered approach has, of course, many shortcomings. And the ideas of the reform movement, the reform pedagogical movement, are very important to us. Still, it is always the local community, the family, the teachers we work with who are deciding which education, which curriculum is fitting best the needs of the child. So being inspired by different standards, by more child-centered standards, more individualistic standards, is definitely a good thing. But we have to be always careful not to impose our choices on others by force. And even if it is the force of ideas or the force of the salary, of money, of donations that are coming in. And this is a matter of principle for me. At our association, we are very well aware of the dangers of cultural imperialism, of new forms of colonialism in humanitarian aid, especially when you come from a privileged country with a privileged passport and have higher resources at your disposal than the environment you are working in. You have to be very, very careful not to abuse this power for just implementing your own ideas. And for this reason, I'm serving as a volunteer like many other volunteers, international volunteers living here in our peace center with me. But we are never in the driving seat for defining the content of education. This choice has always been made by the experienced local teachers, both Lebanese and Syrians we have been working with. And I think this is an important part in the solution, that yes, we do need solidarity. We do need a bit of help from high-income countries to low-income countries. We do need exchange of ideas, and especially in this region, the Levantine coast, which has been the crossroad for civilizations since the dawn of time. East and West have met here, as well as North and South. So me, coming from Germany and serving here for 13 years as a volunteer, is also part of this exchange, for sure. But it is never me or us as outsiders that can impose our idea on others. So for that reason, I'm very grateful. We had an intensive training day in the beginning of this summer program, 2 training days, in fact, with our Lebanese staff and with our child psychologist for defining the best curriculum possible for our students to learn by discovery, to discover the joy of learning and not just fulfilling a curriculum, not just living up to the grade. And I think our teachers have done a great job because maybe they can be inspired by educational models from abroad. It does not mean they have to repeat all the mistakes as well. And of course, in our cultural setting here of the Levantine, community plays a much bigger role than, for instance, in Europe. Education as based on individualism as principle, educating children like they were little geniuses and every child is a little Mozart, has also its shortfalls. So I do trust our teachers, and I would like you to trust them, to join us as volunteers, also with your ideas, and to support their work. This region is a poor region, and those we serve cannot afford paying their tutors themselves. For this reason, we rely on donations from abroad for bringing change to these children and for helping them to become self-confident and independent individuals with a solid basis of values and knowledge. And I would like to thank you for your support, and please visit our website to support our summer school and then our big summer camp, which is coming up next month in August. We are still short of more than 10,000 euros for funding our summer camp and our summer classes, and I'm really begging you to renew your support and to send us a bit of help. Thank you very much, and see you very soon, I hope.